Hello, everyone. I'm recording this to make an announcement that is very difficult for me to make. Unfortunately, it's also very necessary. The short version is that I'm soon going to be quitting YouTube, possibly entirely, but at least mostly. I am going to finish up the Factorio series, just a few episodes left. Gonna finish up the AI War 2 series, shouldn't be that much left in that. Probably have one or two more thematic videos on AI War 2 just to put that to a conclusion and wrap it in a little bow. But beyond that, I don't know how often or even if I'm going to be uploading anymore at all. I'm definitely not going to be continuing the Historic Perspective saga. Hegemony Gold's not going to happen. We're not going to be continuing the Emperor series. And Infested Planet, Planetary Campaign, King of Dragon Pass, those are not going to be happening either. There are a few bits I want to share in terms of the why, and also just let everybody know I really appreciate those of you who have been long-term viewers, who've supported what I've done. But increasingly for me, making YouTube videos is simply not worth what it requires for me to do it. And I don't like the fact that I had some items out there I was going to be working on, and now I have to sort of go back on that. But this is as good of a place to cut it off as any, really. There's always going to be something else that I had in the works that I'm going to be leaving behind if I'm walking away like this. I have basically two connected reasons for not wanting to be a regular uploader anymore. One is just a sense that I'm spinning my wheels. For over a year now, this is not a recent passing fad. The typical audience for the channel has been decreasing. So in other words, the channel is slowly dying regardless of whether I keep making videos or not. All of which tells me that aside from those of you out there who are true blue loyalists, I'm not doing something that's valuable to people. The other part is just the amount of time and effort it consumes. I'm investing financially in the equipment I use to record, computer and making upgrades, buying the games that I'm going to record, all of that. So it's just a losing proposition for me financially. It's a losing proposition from a sense of, personal satisfaction or contributing to something that's valuable and important to people. And it's also a losing proposition, of course, for me personally in terms of stress, feeling that I'm investing my time in a way that's valuable. We all only have so many years on this earth, and since the community I was hoping to build with this channel is not really happening, it seems to me that's a pretty darn good sign I should be spending my time doing something else. Of course, we could consider the option of changing approach. I mean, obviously a lot of my ideas haven't worked. I think the viewer's choice idea was quite naive on my part, simply due to the fact that the great majority of people, even if they know what they want, aren't going to respond and interact with that. So what it's boiled down to is me making content for a small sliver of the audience. Historic Perspectives is another example where there are people who like history, and there are people who like games, and the crossover between those groups is very small. So the percentage of people who like games and like history, or the percentage of people who like history and like games, the Venn diagram, if you will, of the intersection of those groups is not a huge amount. And it seems obvious in retrospect that was not really going to be successful. And that doesn't mean it doesn't have value. Not everything is about how many people are watching. But as I was going through looking at the Kingdom of Macedon and ancient Greece, and there's some really excellent stuff out there for those interested. I recommend the books by Alex Nodell, Societies in Transition, Archaeology of Ancient Greece. It really taught me a lot. I thought it was a really excellent portrayal on multiple levels. But doing the research on that and then putting everything together just takes a really long time. And it's obvious it takes me far longer than many other presenters. So my conclusion is this is an important thing, but I'm not the right person to do it. I don't have the skills required, and working on it and working on it and working on it, whether it's in that realm of research and presentation, or whether it's working on my own vocal delivery while I'm also trying to play a game and trying to make that smoother and more energetic. I've just hit a wall on all those things where I don't see any useful way that I'm going to get significantly better. And the amount of time it requires compared to the amount of videos I'm able to get out just does not seem to be justified. So of course another option is just to not care about that and just make fly by the seat of my pants gaming videos. I don't speak or think well spontaneously, but I could do that and just record the audio after the fact and not care so much about the quality of the gameplay. But again, I always come back to what good is that? People can get that kind of content anywhere. What am I doing here if I'm not contributing something that's new or unique or a different twist or whatever? And the simple fact is that when I was making videos more in that way, people didn't like them. people would say things like, boy, I really like your AI War 2 videos and how you're really going through explaining all the strategy. But this blind Creeper World stuff, by comparison, it feels like low quality, not up to your standards. And at that point, whether it was Creeper World or before that, Motorsport Manager, or the other types of games that I did, almost all the feedback was, boy, it drives me nuts all these mistakes you're making. It's not like those were just outliers and there was this big upswell of interest in the videos I was making there either. That's not the way it happened. So I simply come to the conclusion that there's no useful path for me to be in sort of try-harding mode, investing the majority of the time that I have free from other adult responsibilities into doing this. It's always possible a situation may change. 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever down the line, I might decide that things are different. I've definitely learned a lot from the process of trying to be a YouTuber. I think it's been very valuable to me in exposing me to many different ways of thinking. I've learned a lot about history, but also a lot about people. And my thought process for gaming, gaming design, and frankly life in general has changed, I think, for the better. But going forward from this point, what makes the most sense to me is just to cut way back. If and when I run into things I think I want to make a video about, I'll go ahead and do that. But any really long series or things that require a bunch of prep on my part are pretty much done. It's likely to be more one-offs. I thought this was really cool and I wanted to share it. Very topical items. Maybe tutorialish videos, but they would be isolated, not a big drawn-out walkthrough, such as in Factorio. There definitely won't be any regular schedule. I'm going to get a video on this series up every week. I'm going to get a video on this series up every couple days, whatever that is. So thanks again for everybody who's taken the time to listen to this. Those of you who have watched any of the 1,300 plus videos I've done in the last 4, almost 5 years. If there's anything you feel you want to tell me as a result of this, go right ahead and put that in the comments below. Positive, neutral, negative, whatever that is. But I just don't see any good reason to continue at this point. It does leave me to a certain extent feeling like this is a personal failure on my part. But there's a lot of luck involved. And there's also a lot to be said for just aiming for something worth aiming for, even if you don't make it. And the many lessons I've learned, worth a lot of the investment made as well. It's just time, and all things come to an end, whether they're good or not. So take care, everyone. I wish all of you well.